Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to another week in East Asian pop culture. Here with us at Hallyu-juku, I'm Petey Rave. Here with me, as always, is my buddy Brandon Cooper, aka King Kaz. How you doing, Kaz?
I'm doing exceptionally well, as I always say I am, even when I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Mask the pain, really. We're into another interesting week of K-pop and East Asian pop culture, and we'll get into it shortly. But first, as we always do, we're going to talk about what we've been listening to this week, or some of the music we want to highlight. Kaz, what have you been listening to this week?
Well, specifically for me, I've been listening to Mamamoo, but because we're going to talk about that in a later segment, I just kind of went on the YouTubes and looked at what was new over on the old K-pop music stuff. And I didn't like a lot of what was new, so I just kind of searched through till I found some stuff that I kind of liked. Not everything in here I found exceptionally well. But starting at the top, because we didn't start from the bottom, is XOK's Overdose, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows at this point. Because of the video and the song is actually a really good EXO song. And there's two versions. There's an XNOM, an EXOM version and XOK version. So I picked the XOK version because I like that one better. I really like the choreography mainly more than anything about this whole song. And I think that's kind of EXO's really their bread and butter. The more and more I kind of get into EXO is their choreography is really tight, especially in their videos. I don't know how it is on their stage performances or anything like that. I haven't watched enough of those, but in their videos, man, it's so fucking tight and it's so good. And it just makes you want, like, really pay attention to the choreography in the video. Like, it really draws you in. Maybe more than the song does sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. They do have some nice tight choreography because they have some really talented dancers, and they've shown it on some nice special stages occasionally. Some really talented dudes in EXO. The talented 11 dudes.
Yep.
What else have you highlighted?
I also highlighted, let me make sure I'm right on this list. Yep. Zion T's, Two Melodies, a really, really, really slow, song. Like, kind of just really chill, really just nice, melody. With like kind of a really smooth jazz bass to it. And just kind of this soft, raspy voice, like really more soft than raspy. And kind of the lyric progression. There's some little like really modern style singing in here that I wish wasn't. Like kind of the vocal progressions of like the kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really minuscule and it's not in there a lot. But it's just a really fun, smooth, kind of jazzy style song. And the video isn't like too over the top. And you know, I get really weird and artsy with Korean music videos. So this one, like, you know, kind of with everything being kind of dark and stuff like that. I just really liked it a lot. So it's something I think people should definitely put on their radar with Zion T, because there's stuff from him that pops up every now and again that I really, really appreciate and like. And I think he's interesting.
It definitely has an interesting hairdo.
Yeah, it's like a faux hawk, mohawk, like pompadour. Like, it's really weird.
But yeah, some interesting music. And lastly, something going back to the boy group tip.
Yep, going back to the boy group too, but kind of slaying on the slow paced song tip, and not from a group that you usually get this kind of thing from. And it's actually rather funny because I think they also know that this isn't normally their style of music. So, BAP. Doing a kind of slow song with like kind of a goofy video to go along with it of just like the guys walking around in London and looking pretty and kind of doing a way more pretty boy thing than kind of the boy band rap group thing that we're used to from them. And surprisingly, I didn't hate this. I don't like it. Because I kind of like the over the top rap thing from BAP because they kind of do it
the warrior
good. Yeah, they do it rather well, but I like this. Like, this is, we're always talking about, especially with the girl groups, showing diversity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And allowing the girls who normally do aegyo to do sexy, to do other kind of things. You know what? And I feel like the same thing right here for BAP. Like, this is allowing them to kind of do something different. Like, yeah, we're more used to the, and I'm pretty sure they have other songs like this, you know, but I don't have any BAP albums in my collection. So I'm just generally used to what I find from them and that I instantly like from them, which is the kind of rap hardcore thing, you know?
Yeah.
But so something kind of silly and soft and from them was a divergence. And yeah, like you said, it's fun.
Yeah, it's really fun stuff. Yeah, I've kind of been like you. I've mainly been listening to Mamamoo, and we're going to talk about that later. But I wanted to kind of highlight a couple, like a new song and a couple other songs that, for a couple different reasons. So, we finally got a new song from Got7, and I checked it out, and it turned out to be kind of a cool song. You know, it didn't set the world on fire, I would say, at least not for me, you know. But like, you know, it was a definitely an interesting follow up to their debut track. Definitely better outfits in this video than they had in their debut track. Yeah, and I think overall it's a very fun video. Again, like, a little bit of silliness, a little bit less less cute, but more overall kind of confident goofiness, which is kind of cool. Like this, like, confident, cocky goofiness and silliness that I think works to their advantage, and it's also an interesting plausible version of all the guys hitting on the same girl thing, which is they just saw Shorty that they liked, and you know what, we're all gonna holler at her and let her decide who she wants. So at least a little bit of a more natural progression, more classic boy band style of that. But a fun song. Did you get a chance to check it out?
I checked it out. It's very okay. It's not a song I would further chase a group on, you know?
Yeah.
It's something I would hear and be like, oh man, that was pretty good. But then that's the thought that would be in my head and then leave my head, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not it's not a revolutionary song. It's just kind of okay. Yeah, it's catchy, it's fun, and the video's fun. I didn't care for the beat too much. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't pinpoint it yet. Like, I've been replaying it since we've been doing this segment, and I can't really pinpoint what it is about the beat in this song that I don't like.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Also, it's funny to see them dancing in a Burger King parking lot, not bathroom. They didn't get busy in a Burger King bathroom. That's only one man can lay claim to that. But yeah, Burger King parking lot, which they digitally re-signed as A Mart.
Right.
Which is funny. But yeah, a fun video.
So what else you got?
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to go put some more GEG, more Senior Shide, for reasons that I'll go back to in headlines, and I'll rant about it in headlines. But the subgroup which that came out, 2 years ago at this point. Actually, kind of crazy. Known as Tetsuso or Girls' Generation TTS, the subgroup made up of the leader Taeyeon, Tiffany, and Seohyun. So Tetsuso. And was kind of a more vocal subgroup, almost kind of, let's be honest, kind of snatching the old Wonder Girls wig a little bit. So it's very cool song. It's a song, Twinkle, and everybody knows Twinkle. It's Girls' Generation TTS, Twinkle, and it's a fun song. And these are fun girls, and I love me some GG. But that's all I'll say about that for now. But moving on to another interesting track, to a girl by the name of Ryusera, of a group that I'm lately noticing that around, and the name around, but has never really been on my radar, and probably for good reasons, and the fact that they kind of are faltering in a sense. But a group, Nine Muses, Seta, and her brother Jae Ryu did a cover of a song which I don't know the name of, is Yochum na Maria by J Rabbit, which is the two girl group, and it's kind of one of the latest entries into her RyuTube. She's been like active on YouTube doing like covers and like little like single camera covers and a couple original songs, which were obvious signs that I think I wanted to kind of wish her well, because these are obvious signs that in fact she was about to test free agency, because recently we found out that her contract ran out and she's heading out of Nine Muses and Star Empire Entertainment. So she's the latest free agent K-pop entertainer. So I wanted to wish her well. And this is a cute song. This is kind of like her and her brother. She does kind of make a joke that, no, he's not, is not me with short hair, which is kind of cute. And I don't know. What did you think of like this little ditty?
It was cute. I when people do these kind of self cover things, I always like, I liked the song, right? I liked that part of it. I just didn't like the video. I think that's what all it really boils down to. Yeah. I just didn't like the video. Like, but I like their singing. They both have pretty nice singing voices. And other than that, like you said, it's a cover. So
yeah, it's a little cover.
Nothing more to say about it.
Yeah, it is a little fun little cover, and I think it's cool that she's been doing she's already started to get herself kind of into the rhythm of her post, Nine Muses career, and it was kind of cool to see the fact that she's like, okay, I'm going to start just making my own music or doing some covers and putting my stuff out there ahead of my free agency.
That kind of seems like kind of across the board, just in music in general now, that really seems to be the way to get noticed, is to do covers.
Yeah. To do so,
and I don't know if this may have always been a thing, and I just haven't noticed it until now, because I listen to a lot more things like podcasts and other things like that talk about cover songs, and maybe a lot more of the people around me talk more about cover songs, but it seems to be a bigger thing,
Yeah, I think in the putting yourself out there, it is a very, it's always just an easy, fun project that could get you a bit of instant recognition. Like if it works for you, you get an extra instant recognition. If it doesn't, it's just a little fun project of a song that you like, and you can always just it's just there as like, okay, I'm gonna sing this song I like, and it's a way for musicians to kind of maybe use a little bit of SEO magic, a little bit of a little bit of trickery, I guess, and a little bit of kind of, the old fashioned, style of just kind of getting your name out there, and, just a way to get your name out there, maybe get a little bit of recognition. And I think it's just something that of the YouTube era, it's kind of a way to do that now.
You know how people always do like the kind of thing of K-popdom in YouTube is like the reaction videos, and how I always try to have a scheme to make fun of them or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though a couple of weeks ago we kind of did a reaction video to
in the sense, you kiss, quit playing.
Yeah, you kiss. Can you do K-pop reaction videos to covers of songs?
That would be an interesting project. But there's a lot of ways we can do like the joke reaction videos. Like and I think we'll have to, not to spoil the jokes, we'll have to write them and come up with them. But yeah, that's a fun idea. Yeah. So look forward to that.
I hate reaction videos. I do.
They're always just there. It's just them, and it's almost like, unless you're, well, I'll say this one sentence. And I haven't watched much, but they all I have an idea of what they are. A lot of them are let's watch the video in real time and then talk about it afterwards. The main problem is, when you're watching the video, if you're not going to react, don't post that part. Post that part of you watching the video. Just link the video.
Right. And then there's always the people who are really over the top about it. Like, especially when there's like the ones, it's always the ones with two girls or whatever. So when they watch a video and they're like, okay, all right, we're going to start. And everybody always has a fucking MacBook. So you hear the tick, 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 tick on the fucking turning up of the volume and shit. I fucking hate that.
Because nobody has headphones.
Right. And then they start the thing and they sit back and they're like, oh, it's Chris, or oh god, it's GD.
Yeah.
And then like the review of the song part. I thought this video was really good because GD's makeup was amazing. And you're like, what? What?
No.
Bitch, what? I don't even understand.
Yeah. No. Done. Good. But moving on. That was our music. We're going to go over to some headlines. Brace yourselves because it's going to be fun. So it'll join us over there. Pew. Welcome back, folks. We are here at our headline segment, our kind of overall topical discussion segment. Definitely a heavy duty week in the K-pop world. And I'll go ahead and set it up. So remember earlier in the year when where we had 3 members of Girls' Generation reveal that they were dating, and it was kind of a no big deal reaction, and the only reason we covered it was because of Hyoyeon's thug tendencies and because I wanted to creep you out with a gif of Nikun. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it, you had Sooyoung, Yoona, and Tiffany all reveal, okay, that, they're dating, they have boyfriends, these people that you all know, one of them with an actual member of another, quote unquote, idol group, one with an actor, but overall the reaction was kind of, okay, there may have been some kerfuffle, but there was no big blow up. So coming off of that, I don't know if I expressed it on the show, but coming off of that, my mentality and my thoughts was, I naively thought, wow, we've really turned a corner a little bit. We've kind of gotten over a hump with kind of how people react and how people treat idols, and how people react to kind of these dating news, and kind of we're having a more of a mature reaction to these things, more mature kind of more mature aftermath, so to speak. Things are kind of moving forward. Oh, was I wrong? So this week, and when I heard this news, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. We're probably not going to talk about it on the show, but this is, an interesting new thing. The next one down. Sunyoshidae's Taeyeon, the kid leader, and Baekhyun of EXO, aka Bacon, were revealed to be dating. Dispatch revealed pictures of them, and then SM confirmed it. And kind of that was it. The headline. They are dating. They've been together since February, and this is exciting. Some people kind of pointed out some like things on their Instagram that have pointed to that, and I was like, okay, cool. Like my reaction was like, wow, that's really cool. Like they're dating, yay. And then I figured, okay, the next person dating, I'm like happy for them. That's cool. Of course, coming off the mentality like, oh yeah, we had come across, turned this corner way back when, it's girls' generation. She's not the first one to date, so there's not going to be anything that happens. Oh, was I wrong? Because the netizens reacted, and they reacted badly. The fact that aside from things like ship these like ridiculous, as fun as they are, these ridiculous ships that are propped up on like Tumblr and shit, those got sunk. The Taney ship is truly destroyed forever. The reaction has started to get testy. People commenting on Taeyeon's Instagram, very, very, directly harassing, very crossing the line, cursing her out, saying, just straight up calling her a bitch and things like that. One of them is, I think, a beautifully poetically nonsensical, which is, I think this one, please Baekhyun is gay, don't dating with him.
Okay.
Which I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah. And a lot of reactions all over on the the netizen buzz and the whatnot, and it's starting to swell. Taeyeon had to went ahead and she apologized. People were kind of reading into like messages on her Instagram, which would have been, oh, this is like a secret message to Baekhyun because her nickname for him is this, and this, and it ties into this with them. And like they were like reading her Instagram like it was the fucking Da Vinci's Code, like we're gonna find, it was like the back of the Declaration of Independence. We're gonna find treasure, and of course that turned into, okay, the message between them turned into now just straight up starting to call them traitors, saying they betrayed their fans, trying to dig up secret Instagram accounts, and to the point where recently, some people went to the music shows, went to Inkigayo, and decided, hey, I'm going to get into this music show that is incredibly tedious to get into, and you have to win a lottery to do that. And I'm going to spend my time here chanting traitor at Baekhyun, because that's what is worth my effort in doing. And most of all, I think the greatest tragedy of all of this is the needlessly violent reactions towards the completely innocent Oreos.
You know what?
Oreos get destroyed. You react because you go ahead and give your opinion because I think I'm getting too emotional with the Oreos.
Here's my interjection for the funny and then my serious, right? Fucking Oreo is happy right now. Either way, because they're like, motherfuckers just buying Oreos. We don't care if you eat them. You're just going to give us money. Like, please, buy more Oreos to smash and then send Instagram pictures of. Great. And fucking Facebook's happy as well because they're like, you know what? Instagram's getting used. That's a hit a day, bro. Go buy those Oreos. You know what? We'll make a promotion that every time you download Instagram, they send you more Oreos. What do you know? Like, hand over fist, motherfuckers. Goddamn. All right. But here's the thing, right? Am I surprised by any of this? Fuck no. I'm not surprised by any of this at all whatsoever. Bear? Nope, he's not surprised either.
Nah.
You want to know why? Because I think it's all to do with presentation, right?
Yeah.
At this point in their careers, going with the original stuff, right? Going with the original stuff, you have this situation of a group that is very, very well established, has an older demographic of fans that even in their own lives are starting to date, have children, and do other things, right? That being 2PM and Girls' Generation, right? So to have two people in those groups intermingling, I think their fans can wrap their heads around that way more adjustedly. And there were probably fans in those corners who overreacted and had the whole like, oh my God, I can't, you know, and smashed cookies on Instagram. But I think with these groups who are at their peak and establishing themselves still in a certain sense, especially EXO, who are very much at the height of their popularity. So there are a lot of young fans and a lot of emotional teenagers who are fans of this group or whatever, and link themselves very heartily to these groups. You dispel the fantasy to a certain extent. And I think also in the management's mind at this point, I think they're starting to take a little bit of the American mentality with these kind of things, because then it becomes something that you can promote, right? Because before it was like, keep the innocence, keep the innocence, keep the innocence. But now I think, you know, with the birth crisis and all these other kind of things, everything in Korea is all about kind of statistics and making money, right? Yeah. So,
They tend to feed that fantasy, and they tend to kind of a lot of this is, I think, at the core, one of the main things is why I hate the word idol. I hate the word idol because and I'm usually not one that doesn't would like to kind of move beyond a specific word and more towards language. But sometimes words dictate the language as much as language dictates words. And the constant use of the word idol when you really mean just a particular genre of group ties into these like whatever the genre of the concept is. Ties into these almost putting these people on another pedestal, and then that in turn, even though it feels like, okay, we're lifting them up, it still dehumanizes them in a sense, especially to young, impressionable, emotional people. It dehumanizes them and deifies them, and then when you see cracks in that delusion, let's be honest, it could cause you to react badly. And let's be honest, the entertainment agencies feed into that because that makes them money. That fantasy and that deification of these artists by very impressionable young people with disposable income, that they want to spend their New Year's money on something and they'll spend it on music. They feed into that. So it's one of those things where I keep like, I've always, I think even when I started getting into K-pop and this thing, all this stuff, I that word idol always bugged me. Like what makes them an idol? And then I started kind of accepting it as a term just for like a type of group. Like, this is a band, this is a vocal group, and this is an idol group. But this brings it back to the how these, these kind of that feeling of deification a little bit. I mean, that's probably overstating it, but the idolization, and that is also a type of dehumanization, where anytime these people are human, people react badly to this. We've seen it with when Kara had a less than perfect interview, they got shitstormed on. When Tiara lost a member, and there was some like unsubstantiated rumors about bullying, and then there were bad reactions to that, like, and now they've had trouble recovering from that. There's that part. Another level that I've kind of had a big issue with is also the entitlement issue with these, because every argument that I've seen from anybody trying to justify the butthurtedness of people's reactions to this, and I don't think I've stated this, and I apologize for that. This is not from even close to a majority of K-pop fans. This is just I think a large majority of fans have reacted like common sense human beings, especially internationally, but even domestically, a large majority of the fans have just reacted like normal human beings, like, oh, that's cool, or have made jokes like, oh, my ship is sunk, whatever, but have reacted like normal human beings, and this is a small minority. But I think there has been kind of this like level of argument. So at first it was the butthurtedness, and then when they realized that they kind of looked dumb for being jealous of this relationship, like if they had a chance at these people, they started to backtrack and they started going, well, we're not mad about the relationship. I mean, we understand that they can have a relationship, but we feel upset about this betrayal and with this secret messages and them kind of having a private life rather than always being public to me. I should have access to all their private life. How dare they have a private Instagram that they don't use when they're they use for their own personal communications rather than for their public brand imaging, How dare they have that? They belong to me. It's like this sense of entitlement, and that is kind of been, it's been annoying me. It's been like kind of bugging me this whole week, and every single argument on that is like, basically there should be okay, you should have no feelings about this relationship other than okay, or man, that's really cool, because you don't know them personally. So therefore you really have no right to have an opinion on it. So
yeah,
you should be indifferent, or there's really, and you can be supportive of it because there's nothing wrong with wishing a stranger well. So there's nothing wrong with going, hey, I think you're swell. But to think negatively about these people that you don't know and that owe nothing to you, other than, the fact that you're a consumer of the content they create, is ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, it boils down into, like you said, entitlement. The fans think that they're entitled to these people, that these people belong to them in some sense. And like I said, it's the younger fans. It's that younger generation of fan who don't really know how to grasp everything that is happening around them, right? They make these groups and these idols pretty much their whole entire life. They make everything about them the ultimate issue, in life.
Yeah.
And they really just at a certain point just don't know what else to do with themselves. So it just those things just tend to happen, and they tend to kind of overreact and do things over the top. And what will happen is at some point in their life, they'll grow up, they'll look at these things and they'll realize, man, that was dumb, that was shitty. And some of them won't. Like, some of them will legitimately go on for the rest of their lives thinking that they were done wrong,
Yeah. Recently there was a Reddit post with somebody trying to, somebody by the name of Hear Me Out for Once went on this, TLDR rant, TLDR explanation on, where he tries to I understand that basically says, we're not mad that they're in a relationship. It's really because of this. And he goes on to, you got to understand those over here in Korea, and is mainly specifically speaking as somebody domestically, about the domestic reaction to this, because it's really been bad there. Because they say, okay, most of us, most people place a large part of their lives into this, and for most of the masters of fan sites, leaving SNSD is not an option. We've dedicated our lives to this. We've dedicated our private times. And for them to kind of, and the sense that we feel betrayed, or we feel kind of like we're losing them, or we feel like had our back turned on them or mocked, and it's all this ridiculousness. And somebody, and I want to go to this one comment that I replied to, and I think, but the one comment kind of succinctly points out the problem, and I'll put my, cause, I'm awesome, and I made a great reply that got a lot of upvotes. She says, she makes this analogy. I imagine it's she. Says, I feel like this whole incident can be paralleled to a best friend kind of relationship. If your best friend gets into a relationship and basically stops spending time with you, it really hurts. Feeling of betrayal and anger will arise, not because you don't want your friend to find love, but because someone he or she met of the opposite sex basically degrades the friendship. Like OP has stated, most of us, blah, blah, blah. And thanks to OP for this post. To which I replied specifically. So this is kind of highlights the current argument. And I pretty much put it like this. You're not her best friend. Or even her friend. She is a content creator. And you are a consumer of said content. Period. She has given no indication that the content will cease being created because she's dating. So there is no parallel. The only thing that there is less of between you, the hurt individual, and Taeyeon is the illusion of your entitlement to her private life. Because that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and it's also mainly for the people who have their fantasies in their head of like, oh, and then Taeyeon's gonna marry blah 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 from this group, and they're gonna have children, and their children are gonna grow up and be the next idol, and then my children are gonna love them too. And then it's just like, no, she wasn't supposed to be with him. No, that ruins my fantasy.
Yeah, see, because that's kind of the stuff that you usually do to fictional characters, which is fine. Like if like you watch Supernatural or Doctor Who or these like True Blood or whatever these shows that people like to ship characters and like, oh, that's a bummer that the storyline didn't go the way I wanted to go to. But here's the problem: these aren't fictional characters; they're actual real human beings.
You know what? You know what? Here's the thing. In a sense, they kind of are, right?
Yeah.
What the product that you buy is created, right? Yeah. And the person on the cover is dolled up and put there for you to look at, for you to idolize and do that thing. But when that stops, at a certain point during the day, it stops. They have a life to live, just like you do. Just like I do. Like when me and Petey do this, people can understand who me and Petey are through our love of K-pop. Is that what me and Petey do all day? Sometimes.
Yeah, well, sometimes, but not necessarily.
For the majority, no. Petey, like if you listen to the show and if Petey never, like if Petey focused primarily when we did this show on K-pop, you wouldn't know that Petey is also a wrestling fan. You wouldn't also know that he likes to play video games. You wouldn't know a lot of the other things that make him him. And then if you all of a sudden found those things out, you would be like, no, that he doesn't like that. I know what he likes. And no, you actually don't. You don't.
Yeah.
You just know this. That's all that you know. And that's not going to change. That's never going to change at all in any way whatsoever. The product that you know is not going to change. You just have more information than you had before.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah. Get over it.
I say that a lot on this show.
Yeah. People need to get over it a lot of times. It's like, make like Elsa and let it go. Let it go. I haven't even seen that movie yet. And it's starting to get ridiculous. Like, even, there's also that is, breaking the fantasy. And then there's also the flip side, when people kind of lock themselves into a negative narrative about, people, and then only let the things that feed into that narrative continue to seep through, which is something that I talked to you earlier this week. I'd mentioned, like basically last week when I'd gotten around to like watching last week's episode of Roommate. I had actually bothered to look at like the reviews and the comments, and like every other comment was completely shitting on Nana's lifestyle. Nana being of Orange Caramel and primarily After School, who is one of the members of the SBS variety reality show that we've talked about a couple times here, Roommate. And I linked an article about how she talked about all the negative comments that have been put out on her, and how she's kind of been affected by that even though she doesn't want to, the fact that there's a whole lot of people out there nitpicking and picking at every single little thing that she does that could find negative, could start to weigh on her. And the main thing, it's a sad thing, because if you actually look at her on the show and you kind of actually read her personality, she is I don't understand what person they're looking at. Because the person I see is a very sweet, very reserved, kind of low-key person, but that is ultimately sweethearted and is a likable person. That just kind of is learning to come out of her shell a little bit. Yeah. But you gotta let them be a human being. Like, she's a human being. She's like, sometimes she isn't as extroverted as some of the other people on that show. Sometimes she isn't, her personality doesn't function the same way as you would consider the perfect, the perfect, some maybe a certain quirk you might read as her being rude, but she's not. Like, she's just a human being, and this is edited and to like, I don't know. What do you think of? Again, you give your thoughts, because I'm not making much sense.
I think it boils down to something we touched on earlier, right? It's the whole product versus reality thing, right? You have this thing that you know to be the product, right? Which is all idol groups present very outgoing, bright, smart, or ditzy girls, right? And in reading all these stories, the thing I've come to realize is, before there was this blockade, right? There was the idol, and then the idol's lifestyle, and then management, right? Which always had been the blockade before, and then the fans, and press too on that side of the blockade with the fans. Now there seems to be less and less management. Well, less and less management intervention. Let's say, right? With access to the idols and access to the idol personality outside of being an idol. And it seems like the management sector of a lot of these companies now are trying to let the personality speak for itself. And I'm pretty sure it's all a sales tactic, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more people who are being allowed to date.
Yeah.
Where before the rule had always been no one's allowed to date while you're an idol. There are a lot more idols in reality TV. Like in the reality sense of be yourself on TV.
Yeah.
Not be who you are presented to be. And there are a lot more of these styles of who you are shows coming in Korea than have been there before.
Yeah.
And it like started small with kind of the single set people, Rain and other people have kind of done these things. And I know J Park did it for itself. On his YouTube channel. And J Park's in kind of a whole different area than you could put most Korean acts or whatever. Because he has a more American mentality to a lot of these things. And I think what's happening now is what happened for us here in America about 10 or 12 years ago when we were in our boy band girl group, girl idol craze. Yeah. And then that started to fall apart because people weren't really into those things. And you had to figure out, well, how do we keep selling this? And reality TV became kind of the big thing. And celebrity reality TV then became the even bigger thing because, like, I want to know who that person really is. And I think Korea's kind of latching onto that as their continued selling point. But what's happening is you're going to get all of the bad first, right? Because the kind of Asian culture fights against a lot of these things, right? So you see her on this show and she's very quiet and reserved and like when she gets angry, she keeps it to herself and like kind of huff and puffs, but then like lets it go or whatever. And she doesn't react a lot. So people are just like, the fuck? She's boring. Like, and all this other stuff.
Or they call her rude or like, and stuff like that.
And I think it's just the culture shock of being able to see these people who are generally presented as products to you as human beings. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's just a socially awkward kid, who happens to be an idol. you know?
Yeah.
But she's put into this whirlwind situation of, and it's the whole premise of the show is that a lot of these people don't live around other people or are just locked into their living system or live with their parents still or live alone and all this kind of stuff. And in Korea, when you say those things, when you say someone lives alone, you generally mean they are alone. They go out, they see friends for a couple of hours a day, they go to work, they come home, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is this very different culture thing.
Hell, you know, not living with your parents and not being married is still a kind of a new thing, because in Korea you live with your parents till you get married, and and not till you find your future spouse. No, specifically till you are married, and then you get married, and then you move out of your house. Like you will sign that marriage license, and then you move out of your parents' house. Like. Not when you have a fiance. Like, it is like up there, and like so, living alone is a new thing, at least something for new thing for people to accept. And the fact that she isn't, like you were saying, I think you were kind of going on a good run before I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, it's culture shock at the end of the day. All of these stories that we're talking about right now, except for the one or two that we're going to get to, are fucking culture shock. Are the fans having culture shock to getting to see who these people actually are?
And I think
they'll continue with it, and it'll keep happening, and
I think the next steps is
they'll get over it.
Yeah, the next step is to, I think the key thing is to not. I hope that this doesn't cause Nana to kind of go back into her shell, because she's doing a good job kind of coming out of her shell, and she's a lovely person. She was actually really funny on the show, and even when she's having her lesson and the great moments, she makes it funny, and she's having fun. She's laughing with new friends and making friends. And I think the thing is to keep going, keep kind of being honest. More idols being more honest. Even things like the fact that Eunjung of Tiara, almost kind of indirectly, admitted to being sexually active, which is obviously she's not the first person in a girl group for people to, obviously know that is sexually active, but she's, I think, one of the first people to just like say, hey, not literally, but hey, I do things like, specifically she said on the show Witch Hunt, which I desperately want to get subbed episodes of, but you can't find them anywhere. Cause it just sounds like a cool show. It was a 19+ rated show where they actually talk frankly about, sex. Koreans talk about sex openly, but like that's wild. Where she basically admitted that she's sexually active and she's submissive in bed, if you like that sort of thing. She says that, I'm outgoing and aggressive by day, but sweet by night. And you all know what she means by night. And I think it's nothing, like Asian Nugget says, there's, for an idol, sure, there's nothing wrong or necessarily new about it. Guyan and kind of Lizzie have copped to these things. We know more or less, we know these things about idol singers like Narsha and other people. It's nothing new, but that being that next step of kind of being open about it, just in general, Korea needs that next step. I think lately we've seen a lot of 90s nostalgia in Korea. I think the next step for that, that reflecting of the 90s is to do that thing we did in the 90s where we all decided to go, hey, let's talk about sex. Let's actually, and not just in the salt and pepper way, but let's actually talk about this. Let's actually have an open, honest discussion about all the different aspects of it all. Let's actually start actually being honest about ourselves, about each other, being informed, being communicative. It's something to start, we remember in the 90s, and then I think we're still growing on now on different levels, even here in this country, on different levels. We're still growing on certain aspects. So I think that's going to be one thing, being the sex thing, and that'll kind of start to break down the illusion, the kind of the barrier, and kind of break down those ideas of idealization and just straight up tough love, like this, like EXO's Luhan, just straight up calling out sasaengs and saying like, this isn't cool.
Like it always is. Me, because I meant to look it up. What are the sasaengs again?
The stalkers. Like the ones that that go that extra mile of following idols around.
I don't know. I meant to look it up, but for some reason I was translating it in my head as crazy.
I mean, bitches be cray, but specifically talk about those that like constantly follow them around, hang around outside the hotel room at all hours, knocking at the doors, like we've talked about before, the ones that sneak into EXO's dorm room and steal Dio's underwear, those kind of people. And apparently rumor is that one of the members of EXO actually had somebody sneak into his hotel room and install a camera and videotape him like putting on makeup and stuff, and it's like, and put it up on the internet. And then here, EXO Luhan says in previous interviews says that the sasaengs are serious problems more than it affecting them. It makes them angry that their neighbors and others around them are being harmed. Like Luhan straight up said, can you stop following me? Put a picture of the car that was following her, because there was this one girl that was following him constantly, and this is in China. There's one girl following him. He just like straight up took a picture of them and says, "Can you please stop following me? Aren't you, being too self-righteous? I won't say the things you said to me here." Apparently, actually saying some things to him, and put it on his Weibo, and just to straight up calling it out. And I think that's also another step. Just some tough love, like, hey, stop it. Just turning around and say, hey, I appreciate that you dig my stuff, but there's a line. And there's a line of acceptability, and a lot of you are crossing it. And at the end of the day, this is this conversation is definitely not about a majority of K-pop fans. I think I said it before, a large majority of K-pop fans are common sense human beings, and are just dig the tunes and dig the people and have fun. Say even shipping characters and doing this person would be a hilarious couple with this person, or they would make an adorable couple, but they don't take that seriously. Like, they just do that for the fun of like putting stuff on Tumblr and making pictures and like, just for the fun of it, and treating that as kind of the fun fictional characters, but having the perspective of, I'm having fun with this kind of fictionalized world around this genre of music, but still, but it's still a fictionalized version of it, and this is not reality. This is just, I'm having some fun on Tumblr, I'm having some fun with my friends, doing photoshopping these two characters and to these two singers into like making out with each other or whatever, and it's just for fun. So a majority of people are common sense people. It's just this minority who's kind of been allowed to be establish their delusion, establish their feeling of entitlement, and probably need to be shaken up and scolded a little bit. I think that's going to be the thing to look out for going forward is how they address these things. Because, things like a little bit of tough love, a little bit of actually just letting these people be honest about who they are, and maybe a little bit better stalking laws. Like, because you don't hear about sausage. You hear occasionally one stalker, and that shit gets stopped here in the States. Stalking gets shut down quick here in the States. Like, that's you don't hear about sasaengs here in the States, or any kind of that. You hear about one guy or one girl, and that person gets arrested, and and that gets shut down quickly because we have laws to protect public figures. So, I mean, it is kind of crazy to expect the Korean government to actually put something into action that would be actually useful, but hey, let's hope it happens. But moving on, I think
I think
we've had our rant. But that's it for headlines. I think an odd finish to our headlines, but it is there nonetheless. We're gonna get into our Hallyu Talk segment with another interesting mini album review. So join us over there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here in our Hallyu Talk segment. We talk about different media, different type of particular things, kind of go in depth on something. This time we're going to do another one of our, I guess this time not so random, but another one of our kind of single mini album review, notable album review. So this time, a very anticipated, at least by me, and at least by this podcast, debut, like an official debut of a certain group by the name of Mamamoo. This is a group that if listeners of the show or viewers at this point, will know because we've been talking about them as kind of their career has progressed to kind of their pre-debut career on, whether it be a couple of guest appearances or, a couple of singles that they've released, leading up to their official debut. If you're not aware, Mamamoo is a 4-girl group, made up of Solar, Moonbyul, Wheein, and Wasa. And
right.
We've like I said, we've chronicled their career. We first saw them. They had a song by the name of "Don't Be Happy" with Bumkey, and I remember saying like, this is like this new group, and they were already collabing with Bumkey. The Korean PCP, greatest guest rapper in K-pop. And it turned out, we kind of were really impressed with this like new group of this new song, and they followed that up with collab with K-Will. Again, we're like, man, these girls can network. Like first Bumkey, then they're working with K-Will, and another impressive track. On top of that, they released a track with Geeks. I think that just an audio only. That didn't have an official music video, but that that was out there, and people got to listen to that. And then we finally got word that they were going to have a debut mini, and it happened this week with a lead single by the name of Mr. Ambiguous. The EP itself is Hello, and it features 2 of the songs that that I mentioned before.
We already knew.
Yeah, he had hair hole with Geeks, and Don't Be Happy with Bumkey. In addition to this title track and a couple other songs, and made up a very interesting debut mini album, and I don't. It almost doesn't. Impressively good debut mini album. Impressively good debut. I don't know. At least to me. You got a chance to check it out for the segment. Obviously, I gave this to you, and I decided we should talk about this mini album since we've been talking about this group as they've progressed. What were your impressions when you finally got a chance to listen to the mini?
So the way I do this is I already kind of knew I was gonna like it, right? I kind of already had this feeling that I was gonna like what I heard from them because so far everything that I've seen and heard from them I've really liked. So I went through it, and I went through it for the kind of start to stop thing. Like, am I gonna skip anything? Is something gonna pull me out all of a sudden and I'm gonna realize that I'm listening to music? And I didn't. But then the other thing that happened was I forgot it was on. Which is also not good. The songs flow together really, really, really well. Especially at like a medium volume. But and in the album and music progression itself, I loved everything about this. And I'm realizing more and more how much I like mini albums. Like 6 or 7 songs, like 5 to 6 songs is good, you know? Especially as an introduction and especially as something. And I really think most times you don't really need to have an album with more than 9 songs at most sometimes. And looking at it, kind of like there was no intro or outro like we had last time with
it was just a kind of minor intro, and that's with My Name.
Yeah, with My Name, which I grabbed the CD. But it was just like kind of a little mini intro, which is called Hello. Then you get into Mr. Ambiguous, he ha with Geeks, Baton Touch, I Do Me, which is a solo by Hasa. Or House. And then followed with the last track, which is Don't Be Happy featuring Bunky, which, like you said, was a song that we already knew and kind of was used to introduce us to them. And I don't know, I generally kind of liked everything here. Now, does it stand out against other mini albums that we've heard before, namely our a GI mini album that we've listened to and kind of passively talked about? Like, no, because we were on that GI mini album for weeks at a time, you know? It was so good.
Yeah, we were all over GI, and but I have to say, for me, I kept going back to it, and the reason I shared it with you is because I was just listening to it and jamming to it and enjoying all the different songs. It definitely did flow well together. And it did have a nice selection of styles. Their sound is really cool. Their sound is really tight. They're definitely working with some top-notch people. They definitely know how to network. I would love to see how many business cards they've printed out over the over their career, because they've probably printed out a bunch of demos and business cards, because they've got their name out there, and they got the right people to listen to them. Like, just this Mr. Ambiguous a video, just the cameos on this. Like, you said, Bumpy, Wisung, Baekhyun, cameoing on this, K-Will actually appearing in a music video. What? He doesn't even appear in his own music videos. Crazy.
Right.
So they definitely have they definitely network their way into working with some top talent, and they are themselves. Like we talked about before, they themselves have their hands in the creative pot as well. and I believe they have some composing and writing credits on this album. And yeah, it's a very interesting kind of selection of styles. They've been compared. They've gotten a lot of positive comparisons to Wonder Girls. And I've seen a couple comparisons to Tetsuo, kind of that retro R&B style, which works really well. And I think that the song that I also want to point out that was an interesting song that stood out was the one you mentioned, the solo track, the I Do Me, which is Wasa's like solo rap track. She's the maknae of groups. I also love this trend of confident maknaes that stand out and aren't in the background and sheepish and overly humble. I like this new thing that we're seeing with maknaes. Like they're kind of asserting themselves, even though they're the youngest member, being anti-Confucian in that sense. But and it was
well, and also she's the youngest member in a rather young group too. You know,
yeah. But yeah, that song was like kind of cool.
They're all born in the 90s.
Yeah. But it's a really cool like little rap song. Like it was fun. Like the hook is kind of simple and fun to sing along with. Like and it's just a fun song about drinking. You know, like boy I like to drink. Boy I like to drink. Boy. And I think it worked well. And overall, I think it was a solid mini with some fantastic tracks. I really dug it. That we'll have to see how it stands up, you know, upon further listens, what they can follow it up with. I think they have the chops, that they have the vocal slayage in them. They've got the chops when it comes to singing, and any of the live performances, any of the performances you see on the music shows, they prove it right there. They have the chops. We're gonna have to see if they can keep this momentum going, because they're definitely making some headways, and this is a fantastic debut. I think this is so far possibly the most impressive debut of 2013 so far. I think Akdong Musician is probably the one group that I would say would contest with this and might beat it. But I think this is one of if not the most impressive debuts of 2014 so far.
Yeah, I will definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Go. Yeah.
I mean, so far, very impressed by all the things that they do. And
I like their swagger.
I just hope, unlike GI, they stay consistent. You know, like GI was very consistent in promoting up to the release and then promoting after the release, but then it went really quiet. And I'm just hoping that means that they're making more stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, that kind of quietness is not always a good sign.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think hopefully those are good things. I definitely like that they've got the chops and they've got the confidence and they got the swagger, and I think that it's all shaping up really well. And I really like the group, and I'm really looking forward to their progress in their career. I think definitely agree on that.
But then it's also the thing where, like, do you think they could, like, with what they've presented so far being very big and very small in its presentation, but very big, because like you said, having especially in the Mr. Ambiguous video, all those co-stars, all those people, you know, kind of in a sense supporting them, and having kind of this big show of really well put together videos, really well put together music and all this kind of stuff, like, can they follow that up? You know,
Yeah, we'll have to see if they can follow that up. It's kind of a good problem to have, kind of a nice problem to have, but yeah.
I don't know, you know, like I don't know how good that is, because then that's when you end up in that situation of like in the boardroom, like, what do we do? Like, what do we do next? We did it. We did everything we can think of.
Yeah, so I think we'll have to see how they can follow it up. But I think they're doing a good job so far, and I think we're looking forward to what comes next. But those were our thoughts on Mamamoo. Just go check them out. Check out the mini album if you haven't if you haven't already. It's already,
and I mean, I know this was kind of rather short in this talk segment, but we spent a lot of time in headlines, and we don't want anything to kind of like mull over this. Like, it didn't seem like they were really that into it. No, we're definitely saying Mamamoo is on our radar just as much as GI was on our radar, just as much as EXO or
it was just as much as Crayon Pop was on my radar. I think. It's starting to build, back
or anything like,
like and stuff, and like What's Up might, I don't know if they're gonna, exactly match the kind of weird relationship we have with What's Up, but kind of they're on our radar similar to what how they were. So we're really excited. I'm really excited. I'm gonna keep jamming to this for a while now. It's gonna be weird next week because I'm gonna have to come up with more songs that aren't Mamamoo to share what I've been listening to the whole week. So I'm like, damn, I'm gonna have to listen to something other than Mamamoo this week. But that's then. This is now, and this is the end of another fine episode of Hallyu-juku. Kaz, you got anything going on in your world?
Go check out the latest episode of all the podcasts. Go check out the latest episode of Record Breakers. Go check out the latest episode of Shooting the Shit with Two Nerdy Black Guys, where we talk about E3 and we have a very special guest on to kind of talk about that. Talk about all the games, all the things that we're excited for, all the things that kind of went into that, and what we may or may not be looking forward to coming out of E3.
Mm-hmm. Check out all the things, subscribe to all the things, subscribe to the show. We're Hallyu-juku, kpoppodcast.com, bot.me/KingKaz, bot.me/PDRave, twitter.com/PDRave, PDRave all over the internet. Subscribe, iTunes, Stitcher, share, like, review, all the things. Mm-hmm. Until next time, hasta los huevos. 안녕.